Tonight, a decades-old love story is suddenly exploding back into the headlines, and at the center of the storm is Hollywood icon Daryl Hannah. After years of silence about one of the most talked-about romances of the 1990s, the actress is finally speaking out, and her message is loud, emotional, and unmistakably clear. According to Hannah, the wildly popular television series Love Story isn't just bending the truth about her relationship with John F. Kennedy Jr., she says it's telling outright lies. In a powerful essay published in the New York Times, Hannah accuses the show of twisting reality, exploiting tragedy, and painting a deeply unfair portrait of her life and character. Her essay poses one haunting question that's now echoing across Hollywood and social media alike. How can Love Story get away with this? For viewers who have been captivated by the drama-filled series produced by Ryan Murphy, the show has been marketed as a stylized recreation of the legendary Kennedy family saga. The series, currently streaming on Hulu after premiering on FX, dives deep into the glamorous yet turbulent life of John F. Kennedy Jr., the son of the late President John F. Kennedy, and one of the most famous political heirs in American history. But while audiences have been fascinated by the dramatic storytelling, Hannah says the portrayal of her role in Kennedy's life is not just exaggerated, it's completely fabricated. Back in the early 1990s, the romance between Daryl Hannah and John F. Kennedy Jr. was one of the most talked about relationships in the world. Kennedy, often called America's most eligible bachelor, was constantly under the media spotlight. Hannah, already a well-established Hollywood star known for her roles in films like Splash and Blade Runner, was equally famous in her own right. Their relationship lasted for about 5 years and was followed closely by the tabloids, paparazzi, and fans everywhere. Yet, despite the intense public interest, both of them largely kept the most personal details of their relationship private. Now, more than 2 decades later, Hannah says the series Love Story has taken that private chapter of her life and turned it into something she barely recognizes. In her essay, the actress describes watching the show as a disturbing experience. She claims the character meant to represent her is portrayed as irritating, self-absorbed, overly emotional, and even manipulative, a version of herself that she insists is completely false. One of the most shocking accusations Hannah makes is about the show's depiction of drug use. In several scenes, the fictionalized version of her character appears to be using cocaine and behaving recklessly. But Hannah says that depiction couldn't be further from the truth. She writes that she has never used cocaine in her life and finds it deeply offensive that the series would portray her that way. For Hannah, it's not just an artistic choice, it's a damaging allegation that has real-world consequences. And those consequences, she says, have already begun to affect her life. Since the show started airing, Hannah reveals that she has received a wave of hostile and even threatening messages from viewers who believe the version of her they see on screen is real. Some fans of the series have criticized her online, while others have sent direct messages accusing her of behavior she insists never happened. For Hannah, the situation has been both shocking and painful. Her decision to finally speak out after so many years is something that has surprised many people who followed the original relationship in the 1990s. Hannah has long been known for keeping her personal life out of the spotlight, rarely commenting publicly on her past romance with Kennedy. But according to those close to the story, the way she was portrayed in the series may have pushed her to a breaking point. Interestingly, Hannah isn't the only person questioning how the show portrays the relationship. In a recent interview with entertainment journalist Nichelle Turner, another voice connected to Kennedy's life stepped forward to defend the actress. That voice belongs to Rosemarie Terenzio, who once worked as John F. Kennedy Jr.'s personal assistant and later wrote the book JFK Jr., an intimate oral biography. Terenzio's perspective is particularly valuable because she witnessed Kennedy's life up close during some of its most important years. And according to her, the Daryl Hannah she knew was nothing like the one portrayed on television. In fact, she describes the actress as warm, respectful, and incredibly kind. Terenzio recalls that Hannah was always polite and gracious whenever she encountered people around Kennedy's inner circle. In her opinion, Hannah absolutely has the right to challenge the show's portrayal. She even suggested that it's unfair for the series to paint the actress in such a negative light, especially when many of the people who actually knew the couple never saw that side of their relationship. Another major storyline in the series suggests that Kennedy's friends and family weren't particularly fond of Hannah, but Terenzio says that doesn't match her own memories at all. She insists that she never heard any of Kennedy's close friends or family members speak negatively about Hannah during the time the couple was together. According to her, their relationship was simply like many others, meaningful while it lasted, but ultimately something that came to an end. The debate over historical accuracy in Love Story doesn't stop with Hannah. Even members of the Kennedy family have begun voicing concerns. One of the most outspoken critics has been Jack Schlossberg, the nephew of John F. Kennedy Jr. Schlossberg has publicly questioned the credibility of the series, suggesting that viewers should treat it more like fiction than reality. In a blunt remark that quickly went viral, he joked that if people want information from someone who never actually knew my family, they should just ask Ryan Murphy. Murphy, of course, is one of television's most influential producers. Known for hit shows like American Horror Story and Glee, he's built a career around dramatic storytelling that often blends real-life events with fictionalized narratives. When it comes to Love Story, Murphy has been clear from the start that the series is meant to be a dramatization inspired by real events, rather than a documentary. Still, that distinction hasn't stopped a controversy from growing. For many viewers, the emotional performances and cinematic storytelling blur the line between fact and fiction. And as the series continues to dominate streaming charts, the discussion about its accuracy is only getting louder. Despite the backlash, the show has been an undeniable success for its streaming platforms. Since its debut, Love Story has become the most watched series ever for both Hulu and Disney+, attracting enormous audiences around the world. In its first 5 episodes alone, the series generated more than 1.5 billion minutes of viewing, a staggering number that demonstrates how fascinated audiences remain with the Kennedy legacy. Part of that fascination lies in the almost mythic status of John F. Kennedy Jr. Born into America's most famous political dynasty, he grew up under the constant gaze of the public. From the iconic image of him saluting his father's coffin as a child, to his later career as a magazine publisher and public figure, Kennedy's life has long been the subject of intense curiosity. His tragic death in 1999 only deepened the legend. At the age of 38, Kennedy died in a plane crash off the coast of Massachusetts, along with his wife Carolyn Bessette Kennedy and her sister Lauren Bessette Kennedy. The tragedy stunned the nation and marked the end of an era for the Kennedy family. Because of that history, any attempt to dramatize Kennedy's life carries enormous emotional weight. Fans want to see the truth behind the glamour, but those who actually lived through those events often feel protective of the memories involved. For Daryl Hannah, the issue seems deeply personal. She argues that turning real people into dramatic characters without regard for accuracy can cause real harm, especially when those portrayals reach millions of viewers who may assume they're watching the truth. At the same time, the controversy highlights a larger debate happening across Hollywood today. As streaming platforms compete for attention, many producers are increasingly turning to real-life stories as inspiration. But when those stories involve living people, the question of where creative freedom ends and responsibility begins becomes much more complicated. Some industry insiders believe the backlash surrounding Love Story could become a defining moment in that conversation. If more individuals connected to the Kennedy family or the events depicted in the series begin speaking out, the pressure on the creators to clarify what is factual and what is fictional may continue to grow. For now, though, the drama surrounding the show seems almost as intense as the story it portrays. Fans are debating the accuracy of the series, critics are analyzing the ethics of dramatizing real lives, and Hannah's essay has sparked a renewed interest in the real history behind one of America's most famous romances. More than 20 years after their relationship ended, the story of Daryl Hannah and John F. Kennedy Jr. is once again capturing the world's attention. But this time, it's not just about love, glamour, and celebrity. It's about truth, memory, and who ultimately gets to control the narrative of the past. And as viewers continue to stream Love Story in record numbers, one thing is certain: the conversation surrounding the show and the real people behind it is far from over.